FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
And you are listening to the Financial Survival Network. I'm Kerry Lutz. Today's January 19th, 2018. Well, like I said, at the North American Bitcoin Conference, believe it or not, over 4,000 people attending. And there are so many different ways that the blockchain, Bitcoin technology is mutating and going viral that you can't believe it. One of the most interesting ones I've seen here is, I want to call it I don't want to call it a currency, but let's just say tokens issued by an outfit called Bitcar. And basically what it says on the booth here is Bitcar tokenizes and fractionalizes rare and collectible exotic, hyper, super, and classic cars. So I've got Charles Kilborn with me. Charles, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Kerry. Thank you for having us.
Hey, so if I buy one of these tokens for $10, will I be entitled to a lug nut on a Ferrari?
That might actually be pushing it. I think the lug nuts are actually more than $10. But yeah, I mean the whole concept here is we are basically tokenizing an asset class that is typically only available to people that can go in at $3 or plus $1 million, per vehicle. That asset class has outperformed the S&P 500, gold, silver, REITs, private equity for 10 years running, actually, and a good track record against for over 20. So the idea is we want to bring that to the middle market buyers so that they can actually participate in the ownership of these vehicles. And the other unique part of that is we think that because it's sort of an asset-based token, it is a safe haven for crypto investors who, during times of volatility, need somewhere to park. A LaFerrari is not going to lose a significant amount of its value overnight.
So obviously you're storing these cars, putting them on ice, so to speak, draining out the fluids, putting them on a pedestal so the floods can't get to them, probably shrink wrapping them as well. Where are they going to be stored?
They'll be stored very close. They will be stored in showroom, museum type locations and displayed. People will have access, owners will have access video by webcam where they can come visit the vehicles, but there will not be any track days. We will not be racing the cars or doing anything that might create a liability. We're treating them as assets.
All right. So you gave an example when you were giving your presentation in the auditorium. McLaren, I don't remember the model number, purchased in 05, 06 for $1.5 million, recently sold at auction for over $15 million.
Yes. There are a plethora of vehicles. The founders, who are extremely brilliant guys, have spent about 5 years diagnosing this particular market and have sort of come up with the algorithm of the type of unique scenarios in that space where there are buying options, where there are supply and demand pressures and opportunities for vast scaling on pricing. And those vehicles, the Enzo, the LaFerrari, the Koenigsegg, any of the vehicles that are, in that super classic car, even a 1962 Ferrari GTO California Spider sold years ago at 17, and I think it sold recently at 38. So these cars within those range have a very unique application of currency to them, and we want to participate in that. The owners will have those cars for 5 years. Now, while they can trade their tokens liquid, peer-to-peer, or on the exchange, they will vote. Whoever owns those tokens at the 5-year period will vote to either sell the vehicle or keep it and let it ride.
Interesting. So these are what we would call security tokens, correct?
Well, the utility token itself is not a security. We've gotten jurisdictional opinion in 3 different jurisdictions. We're not concerned about that. The asset token may or may not be. We're actually just a platform delivering the capabilities. So at the end of the day, we'll have third-party agent brokers who will buy the vehicles, tokenize them on the blockchain against the title, and they'll distribute them to the car, and then the users will buy those cars. We are merely the platform that allows the user and the agent to actually put the car and the tokens together.
How many cars, how many millions are we looking to raise here?
On the ICO, about 25 million, I think, is a comfortable number for us. As far as the eventual volume of cars and capital, I think we'd like to get to the $500 million or $1 billion marker within the next couple of years.
Okay, so let's talk about operations costs. Obviously, there's going to be a storage cost involved, and there's going to be insurance and acquisition costs, obviously, to add to your inventory. How much is all that going to cost?
Well, those costs are fractionalized as well as the ownership. So maintenance, storage, and insurance, and all the related administrative expenses are built into the cost of the token. They're relatively a small percentage of the value because when we aggregate this, we have economies of scale. So the benefit, in fact, a lot of folks out there who have very extensive collections have contacted us about fractionalizing their inventories to actually reduce and sort of spread the cost out of maintenance for their inventories for that reason. So it will be a lot smaller than it will be if you were to store the vehicles yourself in a garage.
So it's kind of like a REIT for sports cars, if you will.
Yeah, that's actually not a bad. It's not a bad comparison, except it's a little bit more liquid than a REIT.
Yeah,
a lot more liquid than a REIT, actually.
A lot more and more mobile too, for sure. Your inventory is on four wheels. So what's going to be the first car that you acquire? What's the? You must have a plan here for which cars.
There is, and there is an intense debate about this. Dan's not here right now. He is our Formula driver and sort of motorsports car guru and marketing guy. He definitely has his choice, and I think Gov and JB actually have their choices. So I think that's something we'll probably announce within the next month. I think the other sort of really interesting component is actually sort of the token economy of a big car, which is very, very unique. Rather than basically just having an asset token, which is a general question that we get, why would we have a utility token? And the reason is the utility token is what's required to actually get to the asset token. It provides entrance into the platform. Well, why have two tokens? Well, this is the reason why. The utility tokens are converted to an asset token. When that happens, there is a supply removed from inventory, and that increased demand on a reduced supply will have an effect on pricing. Conversely, when we consume the asset tokens by way of those utility tokens, we're taking asset tokens off the market, which will also create that inverted pressure on pricing in the market. And then lastly, as we take vehicles that are very limited in supply off the market for 5 years and hold them, we're actually putting more of a strain on supply and thereby affecting pricing as well.
Yeah, an outfit like McLaren produces less than 100 cars a year.
Yes. It's very good. It's more than just even wanting to buy. If you had the money to buy a car, that's not enough to qualify you. There's a list of people that have the inside track for 15 years to even get these cars. So it's really in the secondary market that anyone can hope to get these vehicles.
Yeah, a lot of times you just have to buy your place online to get to the car.
Pretty much, yes. And you're buying them from people who are already in line. It's a very good observation.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then I see classic cars. So we're going to go back muscle cars or exotics, vets, like 57 Corvettes. What are you thinking with classics?
Unless the classic vehicle represents a significant enough opportunity for return on capital, ROE, internal rate of return, we're probably not going to look at it. We want to be very good at doing what we do and not depart too much from that, so that we can be consistent and performing well for the tokens.
Yeah, it's somewhat more speculative. So what's the baseline minimum price for any car that you consider to add to the portfolio?
That's a difficult question because in some cases we might be at the front of the line. The cost of an Enzo wasn't isn't anywhere close to what we would pay for it now if we were at the front of the line a few years ago. So, it could be anywhere from just under $2 million to, $5 or $6 million. So it really just depends on the opportunity specifically and how that fits into our algorithm, if you will, of decision making and what the numbers are.
What about the concept of getting like custom cars made, like a chip boost kind of one-off, one-of-a-kind custom? Is that something that's on your radar screen?
Well, there are already cars in that market, coincidentally, that do that. Koenigsegg, there's a lot of customization and personalization that those vehicles are built with, and those things, some of them do provide for very, very unique builds that are opportunities, but they generally speaking fall in that same frame anyway, so they usually it doesn't create any additional decision making for us because they're already one of the cars we're looking at.
Got it. So hey, it should state that the ICO, at least initially, the coins will not be available to investors within the United States and what other, China, I think?
China and Singapore.
Okay, so, but once the coins are in float, they're going to go wherever the money dictates they should go. Hey, people want to find out more about this and about what you're doing here. Where's the best place to find you?
The best place would be to go to bitcar.io and all of the papers, token papers, white papers, explaining everything I've just said in greater detail, particularly analysis of any of the markets, all of the things that somebody might ask in an interview like this. You can find all of those things at the website.
All right, bitcar.io. Check it out there. Hey, thanks so much for coming on. It's really been fun, and best of luck.
Thank you, Terry. Talk soon.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.